Hello and welcome to Parents Guide to Games. Today we're going to look at some gaming news from this week. The first bit of gaming news that we're going to talk about today is the PlayStation 5 reveal from last week. Now they showed two versions of the PlayStation 5, which was one that had a disc drive and one that is an all digital version. So no disc drive, you'd have to buy all the games on the PlayStation Store. They didn't show any pricing on what the systems will be. So that's still up in the air. There's some rumors and all that going around of whether it be probably about $500, what they think. From what I've seen, that's about reasonable with what the market would be. Both versions would be great. If you don't like buying games, the physical discs and having all that, the digital one would be awesome. If you still buy the old discs, not old, just the discs, and you like doing that, then the disc version would be perfectly fine. They showed off a lot of different hardware, different games are running on that. They showed 24 new games shown and a couple remasters of games going on in there. And they're great games. They're going to be awesome. Not all PlayStation exclusives. Some will be, on Xbox, on PC. So they did show some exclusives. Like for instance, Spider-Man, Miles Morales game. That's from the Spider-Man game that they did a couple of years ago, and they're pretty much just taking that game and making it a Miles Morales, different story, but still the same type of game. Showing those off and all that during this conference, showing what the power of the PlayStation 5, will be, which is kind of cool because, we've kind of all wanted to see that. It was a great reveal. Like I said, showed off a lot of games, did a lot of cool things showing that off. It's just time that it took to do that and just to see, because that's coming up holiday of this year. The PlayStation 5 should be out, in case, unless something else happens, but should be out holiday this year, so probably around October, I would say. Sorry, I don't try to get dates, but October probably be the date that comes out to give some time to be ready for Thanksgiving and the holiday season into Christmas. The next bit of gaming news that I want to talk about is Pokemon did a big reveal thing this week, and they showed off a bunch of stuff. I'm going to break it down just a little bit here. First thing they showed was a Pokemon Smile app, and what this is, it's an app used with your child to help them encourage brushing, and if they brush enough, then they can capture the Pokemon that comes, and they get to collect the Pokemon. It's kind of like, honestly, like Pokemon Go, but brushing your teeth. But it takes pictures, the video of them. They can wear Pokemon hats while they're doing it. Checked it out just a tiny little bit. Seems like a really cool app. It is free to use. It's already available for Apple and for iOS. Another game that they showed off during this Nintendo Direct, well, Pokemon Direct, honestly, it's Pokemon Direct. It was all Pokemon games. Was the new Pokemon Snap game. Now, Pokemon Snap came out on the 64. There hasn't been a game since, but now they're going to bring it back with the Nintendo Switch. And it is, instead of capturing the Pokemon, is you take pictures of the Pokemon. Really interesting concept of the game. Before, with the 64, you were on a set track and you had to time your pictures just right and know all the secrets to get every Pokemon to get to the final level. Which is kind of cool, a little different. Showed, Pokemon in the wild, interacting, doing goofy things, doing funny things. It was just kind of a really interesting game. Played that one myself. Kind of looking forward to that game because I really like Pokemon Snap. I think my kids are going to like Pokemon Snap. So that's just another one to be on the lookout for. Another game that they showed is a mobile game. It's a mobile game, plus it's also on the Switch. So they described it as it is free, but there are paid elements to it. So kind of it's almost like any mobile game now. And that is Pokemon Cafe Mix. And it is a puzzle game, kind of like, those puzzle drop downs and you got to match, the pictures. And that's the Pokemon have abilities to help you with the puzzles. Kind of an interesting set of gameplay. Very different from what Pokemon's done before. So they have done like a Tetris game before, but this is definitely something new. Doing a free game like this to that. They also showed off the new DLC for Pokemon Sword and Shield, which is the Isle of Armor, and just showing that off and doing special raid battles. Select time for that. I didn't really show it here. Don't want to go into too much details, but there's a special Pokemon, a legendary Pokemon out there that you can capture, and if enough people do it, I think it was 1 million players. I think they said if they capture it or battle, they'll all get a shiny version of it, which is shiny is a different color version of the Pokemon, and they're quite rare to get. They're hard to get in a game, but that's pretty cool reward. Another thing they showed off, and I'm going through Pokemon a lot, and this is probably the longest part of the video, but Pokemon had a big thing. They had a lot of info in about a half-hour video. Next up is on Pokemon Go. They talked about how the changes of Pokemon Go from being, walking around, interacting, to then COVID came in and then changing the game, making some changes. What they did, I think most of that's going to last a while because I think they kind of like that, players from their home can play, and also, you can still walk around and all that. They did talk about Pokemon Fest, Pokemon Go Fest, which is an annual event that they put on. It's usually in a set location. This year, unfortunately, can't do that, so it's going to be a digital version. Tickets, as I went on Pokemon Go, are in the U.S. are $14.99, and then you can do special event for that for a time frame. I'm sorry, I don't remember the dates. You can capture, and that special legendary Pokemon will be available for those people that do get the tickets, do the event, do all things, and also Mega Evolutions from Pokemon games are now coming to Pokemon Go. That's one thing people have wanted. Interesting to see how they do that, because in the original Pokemon games, the Mega Evolutions you can only do during battle, and then during battle they switch to this Mega Evolution, and then at the end they switch back. So it's very interesting of how they're doing that, and how they're going to change that, or what they're going to do with Pokemon Go, because Pokemon Go you kind of capture it, and then it's there. So that'd just be interesting. And also they've said at the end of the video they're going to do another Pokemon Direct on the 24th, which is next week. And they're going to have a surprise game that they have not revealed yet, which is interesting because that's a lot of games. That's two free games, Pokemon Snap, DLC, changes to Pokemon Go, and now a surprise game, which, they do have the DLC for, they did the second DLC for the Pokemon Sword and Shield coming out in the fall, so it obviously isn't a new game for that, but what would it be? Would be interesting to see. It's kind of, Pokemon's really got a lot of stuff going on right now, which is kind of cool, really interesting. A lot of changes. That Pokemon Smile is, like I said, it's a really interesting game. The Pokemon Cafe Mix is really interesting. Pokemon Snap coming out is really great. DLC for the new Pokemon, for Pokemon Sword and Shield, and also Pokemon Go changes. Those are all kind of nice things that the Pokemon company's been doing. Well, Nintendo's been doing too, because it's the same company. It's the same, they're deal together. And so it'll be interesting. I'm really interested in knowing what the 24th will reveal, and I'll have news on that next week, what the reveal is. And the last game, a little bit of gaming news, is a Fortnite. The new season is out. It is a complete map change again, which is really early compared to what they've normally been, because a huge map change like this. It is now, instead of a storm and like an electrical storm that comes in, it is now a wave that comes in and crashes. And I think pretty much most of the map is flooded with water, which is a really interesting element, because just, from regular ones, there's just a little bit of water in like the lakes and some like rivers and all that. So it's interesting that they've changed this to this island. And you don't think Fortnite, it's a battle royale game. Fortnite does have a story behind it, and that's what's kind of interesting. Is Epic Games has taken Fortnite, a battle royale game, and added a story to it, but it's not in your face story. It's subtle things and subtle changes, like the difference between when the last season started and this season started. What ended the last season here that just ended, was a character in the story of Fortnite created a device that caused the storm to disappear, which then brought in the flood, which now brings on the map. And there's also those stories of now, and then there's obviously it's a big long thing, big conspiracy. I don't know too much about it. I play Fortnite very minimal, if not at all. But just interesting story that we probably talk about. So new battle passes out, of course, with new challenges and new rewards. So just be on the lookout for that stuff with Fortnite here now. Big shout out to bensound.com for the music. Please follow Parents Guide to Games on Facebook at Parents Guide to Games, on Twitter at ParentsG2G, and email any questions or comments to parentsg2g@gmail.com. Thank you for watching, and please subscribe.